Thank you. I'm Virginia McKenzie, Charter President of the Rotary Club of the Pacific Northwest, Ending Sex Trafficking. We were sponsored by my original club, Seattle for Rotary, 3.5 years ago. We're a single cause Rotary Club focused all on local sex trafficking of youth. And we meet, everybody wants to know, we've got 22 members and 6 honorary members, and we meet virtually on Tuesday, the second Tuesday of the month at 5 o'clock. Please feel free to join us to learn from a local expert. And we do one hands-on service project per month, which will be invited to a future upcoming service project at the end. So hopefully by now you have read the article in the Rotary magazine where the cover story, the centerfold story, and I've got my fellow member Kristine here. It's a phenomenal story, and the reason why it's so excellent is it was written in a first-person narrative by one of our club members who lives at 103rd and Aurora and is witnessing firsthand what is happening at her doorstep and why she was moved to join Rotary when she found out that there was a Rotary club focused on this local, hyper-local, her backyard. She is a professional journalist, and she was actually commissioned by the Rotary magazine to write this article, and I'm very proud of how compassionate it is, how urgent it is, and it does not pull any punches. I know this is hard to talk about, sex trafficking, local, right? We're talking about our kids and we're talking about our neighbors. But we know that it's happening here. We know it's happening because we can see it at places like North Aurora. Right now, there are teenage girls standing in stilettos and not much else, waving down cars right now in broad daylight. You can't even believe it. We know what's happening because we hear it in the news. I'm talking about stories about our sports coaches and our school educators, faith leaders. I'm talking about busts in massage parlors and high-rise apartments and luxury hotels not far from right here. It's happening right here. And this gives me no joy, but it's going to get worse. There will be a huge spike when Seattle is hosting the FIFA World Cup in 2026. And we will have 7,500 visitors from all over the world visiting our city. It is a huge gift to our city, but unfortunately, it also comes with a massive spike in sex trafficking. And the exploiters will be looking for local victims to turn out. They will be bringing victims here to satisfy the demand. In a moment, you'll hear from my friend and fellow Rotarian, Kristine Moreland, about her emergency receiving center. She has a couple of dozen of beds and does phenomenal work, but it's not enough. At some point, we have to address the demand and reduce the demand for buying sex. I'm very pleased to say that is what our Rotary Club is working on next. It's called the Ugly Truth Campaign, and how it works is side by side is the rationalization that buyers use to make it okay to do what they do, the myth, and the ugly truth. And it sounds like this. Oh, prostitution is a victimless crime. No, the truth is there's lots of violence involved and sometimes death. Oh, but she's an adult and an entrepreneur. More likely, she got lured in as a teenager and got stuck. It's much harder to leave prostitution than you might think. Oh, it's the girlfriend experience. No. Hollywood makes prostitution look very glamorous, but it is not. The pimps use force, fraud, and coercion, and force prostituted people to work on a daily quota. It is not glamorous. So, what our Rotary Club has done is we are hiring the public relations firm who has run this campaign in 6 other cities. I got this idea from Sacramento Rotary. I'm looking at Kim because he's working on a project. Oh, he already left. Okay. Sacramento Rotary ran this in 2018. We've commissioned Voices and Faces to come here to Seattle on May 30th. And we are calling it the Stakeholders Forum, and it's being hosted at the King County Courthouse for juveniles. And we are inviting all of the stakeholders that have a vested interest in keeping our city safe. And we already have commitments from the prosecuting attorney, from the FIFA World Cup organizers, the Seattle Sports Commission, the Attorney General's Office, survivor leaders, direct service providers, and of course, Rotarians, which there's also overlap in those communities. We have about 20 seats left. There's 70 seats. On your table is a flyer introducing the event. If you have someone that you think would be a good addition, please let me know. I would like to follow up with a soft copy of an invitation with the RSVP link. Specifically, we would very much like to add potential corporate sponsors. These are corporations that are going to massively benefit from FIFA World Cup. Talking about like Uber and Lyft and national hotel chains and the airline industry. I hope that they would be interested also in a campaign like this. And here's the thing. If we get liftoff here in Seattle on May 30th, I am going to use RAGIS, that's the Rotary Action Group Against Slavery, a coalition of 800 Rotarians all over the world. I've already talked to Bob Deering, the past president. We're going to use RAGIS to activate the 16 other cities that are hosting FIFA World Cup matches. And I already have interest from Atlanta, Vancouver, British Columbia, and Kansas City. We also have the attention of the Rotary International Public Relations Committee. They found their way onto our little Zoom meeting. It's published on our website. It's no secret. But when this person came on, I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Well, the FIFA World Cup is a international event, and this could be of interest to Rotary for a follow-up story or I don't know what." This is very, very exciting. So I would like to close with how to keep your own family safe. Who has a teenager in their life that they care about? This could be a grandchild. This could be a niece, nephew, somebody's friend's kid, anybody, okay? I know it's hard to talk to them about this stuff because we don't want to ruin their innocence, but unfortunately that leaves them as a sitting duck and vulnerable to luring from exploiters. So I want you to pretend for a moment I am talking to a 13-year-old right now. I have these scripts on your table, so you can take them home or I'll send more. But this is what the script looks like. This world is mostly a good place, but not always. In your life, you will encounter people who want to harm you. Sorry, this always makes me cry, I'm sorry. I want to talk to you about the very serious topics of sex trafficking and grooming. So if you ever see the signs, you will recognize it quickly and steer clear. Trafficking is when youth are sold for sex, or really anybody of any age is forced into prostitution. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this would never happen to you and not in our community. And I hope that is true too. But just in case we are not so fortunate, please let me tell you a little more. Sex trafficking sometimes starts with a kidnapping, but really, that is pretty rare. The more likely scenario is that an older adult grooms a youth into a trusting relationship before the abuse begins. Here are scenarios I want you to look out for. Adults who want to have a secret relationship with you. Adults who shower you with expensive gifts or free drugs. Adults who promise opportunities that are just too good to be true, like a path to be a movie star, a fashion model, or a recording artist. Adults who find ways, who get physical with you in ways that cross your personal boundaries, like tickling, play fighting, or massage. Adults who want to look at explicit pictures or videos with you. If anybody asks you to do something you feel uncomfortable with, you come talk to me about it. I will promise I will always be helpful. And for goodness sake, do not exchange nude selfies. Nothing good can come of this. And if the photos get in the wrong hands, people may use them to try to manipulate or bully you. If you do share nude selfies, you come tell me about it. Again, I promise I will find a way to help. I don't want you to ever feel trapped. I care about you. That was short and sweet, but even that can help your family. I'd like to pass the mic to my friend and fellow Rotarian, Kristine Moreland, who works with our first responders and helps people see pathways out.
I do all the things. I'm just... Thank you, Virginia. I usually don't have about 7 minutes to wrap up what I do. I do a lot in terms of the work, but Virginia, thank you very much. I'm Kristine Moreland. Can you guys hear me? Can I hold this? Can I walk? Can I talk? I'm Kristine Moreland. I'm the executive director of The More We Love. I'm also serve on the board of Crime Stoppers. I am an expert in this space because I've been an expert my entire life. My father is a homeless heroin addict. My mother ran drugs for the biker gangs as I was growing up, which left me in the hands of my neighbors, which left me incredibly vulnerable, what brought me to being a survivor of human trafficking. When I was 16 years old, I met my father for the first time. He had just gotten out of prison for murder. It was terrifying at best. It was my vision of what homelessness was to be true. My vision of trafficking was in my own mind. It was a scary place as a 16-year-old girl. I ventured out into that world with all of that knowledge, and I was up against a fight for my life to figure out how I could just maintain every day. So I went out and did what my mom did. I met older men. I sold drugs for them. I was a really good salesperson. I've been a mortgage loan officer for 25 years, just recently quit my job. Transferable skills is what we call it. But at 20 years old, after not being able to sustain relationships that were healthy with my father, my mother, all of that kind of stuff, I got hit by a drunk driver. It took me into a space where I had to take a desk job, and I entered the mortgage world. I came from a place of poverty, and I went into mortgage where it was fast and fancy and beautiful, and it was in Kirkland. Right? And so I was grateful for that job. I took a receptionist job, and then I listened to everybody around me, and I taught myself mortgage. I was a mortgage loan officer, successful for about 25 years. Recently, just quit my job, sold my house, and went all in to create The More We Love about 2 years ago. When I was 22 years old, I had a call to my heart. It was in my heart because I drove down the freeway, and I saw my father flying a sign on the side of the road asking for money. How humiliating, right? And I didn't want anybody to know. And so I decided it was time to do something with all this corporate money I saw around me, and I started hitting people up for coats. It looked like people were really cold on the streets, and I just needed coats. But I also needed to fill my heartstrings because it was very personal to me. It was all about how I felt, right? And it didn't feel good at all. And so I went out on these streets. I got coats, massive amounts of coats. I would make you feel bad, and you feel bad, and I'd get the coats. And I would show up with these giant trucks of coats to the Union Gospel Mission. And one day, a couple years after doing these shenanigans, the president of the mission came up to me and he said, "No more, you're not doing this anymore. You are going to find out where these coats go." And I said, "You are crazy, crazy. Because he didn't need to know that my father was out there, right? He didn't know what my past was. He didn't need to know that. And I certainly didn't need to tell anybody because I was successful. I was making mortgage loans. I was doing it, right? I was also married to the owner of the mortgage company, and everything was fast and not fun. It was hard. So I'm also a people pleaser. So I said yes. And I'll be really quick, but that was 25 years ago. I said yes to going out on the streets of Seattle and serving in some of the darkest places on their Union Gospel Mission vans. And I saw something very different than my father or the trafficking that I was succumbed to or the drug dealing my mom was part of. I saw humans. I saw love, and certainly I saw people that needed me. And so I went to work on figuring out how to be people's constants. That's what I call the work I do. I show up, my teams show up as people's constants. And I tried to figure out every way I could serve at night while still serving my day job and make sure that still nobody knew the depth of what I was going through, right? Fast forward many years, I was successful. I grew a couple nonprofits. I served along the mission. I gave my heart and soul to it. And then in 2015, I decided it was time to me to start my own nonprofit. It was great. I met a little boy who brought me out of the dark of my marriage that I was in, where he was hiring women, doing all these things. And that boy quickly I adopted. And quickly after that, I decided it was time to get rid of my corporate life, and I created The More We Love. The More We Love is the proudest thing I've ever done, other than my kids. 2 years ago, I went into some of the darkest places to find pathways out of homelessness, addiction, human trafficking, and domestic violence. I took my hands and feet to the streets. I took people out on those streets, and I decided it was time to partner with the cities and tell them there was more resources out there than you knew to be possible. And my resources weren't harm reduction or housing first. They were real pathways out in a place that we could really feel intentional. I partnered with King County Sheriff's, Seattle Police Department. We answer emergency calls when a woman or a child or even a man needs us most. On Monday afternoon, I answered a call for a young 22-year-old girl who had been trafficked by the cartel up into South King County. The officer called me, and the only thing he needs to say is, I need you. I need you. And we respond. And our team responded, and the young girl had had a gun to her head about 30 minutes prior to me showing up, and she was broken. And we have this immense way about us as showing up as their constants. And I took her into my arms, and I told her it was going to be okay. And I make those promises because I believe it's true. Last December, I went into a moment where I was in shock that I was still fighting up a hill to find right resources to match the needs of these women, pathways out. We had 7 survivor beds in all of Seattle, and those survivor beds were low barrier where they could utilize drugs and still be in the game. And the girls that we're working with want out. They want pathways out. So I did a big thing. I sold my house, and I opened a women's shelter in Renton, and I am so proud of it. Right now we have 11 women housed and 6 children. They're all thriving. They're all sober. They're all looking for those pathways out. 3 got housed last week. 2 got their jobs. 1 is going to the SeaTac to go get her job badge today. I was bouncing babies before I got here. The reason why I tell all of this to you guys is because we come from a lot of these spaces of, what is human trafficking? What does it look like? Who is she? She's right here. And they're bad to the bone. They're incredible people that just need an opportunity out from underneath all of the things that got them there. There's layers. It could be poverty. It could be their uncle. It could be generational. It could be kidnapping. It could be social media. As a community, we need to have eyes wide open. With our partnerships, we take community calls, King County Sheriff's calls, We Heart Seattle calls, you name it, we will take the call. I have yet to have to turn down a survivor. They come into our space as a survivor, and they leave our space as a survivor. I have a call to action for every individual in this room, and I think it's important. All of you guys are experts in something in your space, every single one of you. And I need constants more now than ever. My email address is public. I ask that you email me and tell me what you're an expert in, because I can use you. If you're a nurse and you want to come rock one of my babies, if you're a CPA and you want to talk to one of my girls about how to do her taxes, right? There's ways that all of us can be hands and feet on the street. And when you send a message to the survivors that they matter by showing up with your expertise, I promise you it will continue to create the pathways out that they so desperately deserve. I didn't think I could do this, you guys. I thought I was going to be a mortgage loan officer for the rest of my life, and I was really good, but it wasn't filling my heartstrings. And I was terrified to take the leap and do what was right and get rid of all of my worldly possessions and believe that God's purpose for me was greater. But I did it, and it's working. And it takes every single individual in this room to keep it working. The barriers that we face daily to get this work done are unimaginable. The women come to me with no license, they come to me with no bank accounts, and they come to me with no love. Zero. Yesterday I sat with a woman who lost her baby. There's no lengths that we won't go to at the More We Love so that they feel the way I do, so that they can step on stage one day and speak to these incredible people and teach you how to give pathways out. Our shelter is an open space. I invite every single one of you to come say hello. Hold a baby, rock a baby, touch a survivor, do everything that you can to lift up the work that I'm doing, because it so desperately matters. Virginia's got an event going at the Inn where we invite you. We are showing a movie called Bobby Joe, Under the Influence. This movie moved me 2 years ago to take action. Not that I haven't for the last 25, but to take real action. Thank you, Virginia.
Thank you very much.
You don't want that.
There we go. You know, a very, very difficult story. But we are hearing that story in the company of 4 different Rotary clubs from our region. Rotary clubs that are committed to finding solutions. And I want to all know it's an honor to walk with you on this unfortunate adventure. Now, Virginia and Kristine, can you come up here, please?
Try not to make you guys cry during lunch. Your makeup looks really good.
Well, in your honor, we donated 3/4 of a ton of food to Harvest Against Hunger. Harvest Against Hunger, of course, is the Rotary-led effort to address food insecurity within our neighborhoods, within our community. Secondly, I want to thank you so very, very much. You both have risen to a challenge, and in rising to that challenge, you have lifted our neighborhoods, lifted our community, and lifted our neighbors as well as Rotary. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you.